Prime Minister is a person who leads a government in a country. Beyond the role of Prime Minister as a head of government, he also holds the most significant position under the federal constitution. Having a Prime Minister is a must in every country in order to maintain the political stability, assuring economic advancement, and nurturing the people with peace and harmony living environment in the state under his lead. As in Malaysia, there are already 9 premiership of Prime Minister, which started from Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj until this recent Prime Minister, namely Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri bin Yaakob. In this presentation, we will explain briefly about the appointment process, term of office, functions and power of the Prime Minister in government office.
Appointment of Prime Minister. According to the Federal Constitution, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong shall first appoint a Prime Minister to preside over the Cabinet. The Prime Minister will be a Dewan Rakyat House of Representative member which is the King opinion is likely to enjoy the support of the majority of the House members. This individual must be a citizen of Malaysia, although they cannot have become one by naturalization or registration. On the suggestion of the Prime Minister, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong will select additional minister from the Dewan Rakyat or Dewan Negara. Before performing official duties, the Prime Minister and the members of his cabinet must take and uphold the oath of office and loyalty and secrecy in the presence of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. The cabinet is collectively accountable to the Parliament of Malaysia. In addition, Convention dictates that a Prime Minister must resign immediately if government fails to have its appropriation, which is budget legislation, approved by the House of Representatives, or if the House votes no confidence in the government.
The head of Malaysian government is known as the Prime Minister. Leading the rank of the executive body's cabinet is another duty of the Prime Minister. The leader of a political party or strongest component party in Parliament or Dewan Rakyat is often chosen and appointed as the head of state. It must have the support of the majority of members of the Dewan Rakyat Malaysia. This person is officially appointed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. The term of office of Prime Minister in Malaysia is the term that the Prime Minister given for their responsibility to the country. In Malaysia, there are no formally fixed term, but the Prime Minister must keep the support of the House of Commons, which has a maximum tenure of 4 years by legislation. There are no formally fixed term, but Premier must keep the support of their respective province of territorial legislatures, which have maximum tenure of 5 years. Typically, this person is the leader of the party that wins the most seat in general election. The Prime Minister is elected by vote of the government members. The Prime Minister can remain in office as long as they are member of Parliament and have the government's backing. However, the system of choosing the Prime Minister by doing an election are competition for the greatest stakes in national politics, and the electoral system is a set of preset procedures for conducting and determining the outcome of election. Election for Parliament and state legislature are thus held at 5-year interval. As in all parliamentary system, the titular head will be picked. The leader of the political party or a coalition with the majority of seats in Parliament or the state legislative assembly to form the government. For example, the first Prime Minister in Malaysia is Tunku Abdul Rahman Al-Haj. He served as Prime Minister for the term 13 years. He is known as the father of independence. It is because he bring in a proclaimed independent to Malaya in 1957 and establishment of Federation of Malaysia in 1963.
First function of Prime Minister is becoming advisor for the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Prime Minister has the right to advise the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to appoint the Cabinet as stipulated under Article 43 of the Federal Constitution. In this case, the Prime Minister also has the right to elect, change and dismiss any member of the Cabinet, including the Deputy Prime Minister. For example, this is stated in the case of Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim versus Prime Minister, where a dismissal does not necessarily have to be done directly by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, but if His Majesty is informed before the dismissal is done. At the same time, the Prime Minister also has the power to establish a new ministry to expand any existing ministry. The Prime Minister also has the full authority in determining the meeting of the Cabinet and also determine the matters that need to be discussed in the meeting. The Prime Minister is also not subject to the advice on his own Cabinet. Second function is Prime Minister as the head of executive. The executive body is the policy-making body of the federal government. It also acts to exercise the powers of the federal government. Besides, it was led by the Prime Minister and others of 28 ministers. In Malaysia, the Cabinet is the highest body that exercises executive power. The Cabinet consists of those who represent the party that gets the majority in Parliament. The Prime Minister has the power to nominate anyone to the YDPA to join the Cabinet. Lastly, the Prime Minister function is develop and monitoring planning process and mechanism. In Malaysia, planning is a collaborative process between EPU and many stakeholders such as state government, academic institutions, the commercial sector and non-governmental organisations. Additionally, contributions from global organisations are also considered. At the Interagency Planning Group meeting where the EPU serve as secretariat, the setting of macro and sectorial objectives will be addressed and approved. The top-down and bottom-up techniques are based in the socio-economic development planning process to make sure that national objectives and plans are realized via resources optimization and balance and developed in many aspects. As a result, it may be put into practice and completely integrated with the key aspect of national development.
Firstly, a variety of restrictions apply to the Prime Minister authority. A Prime Minister who is outside as party leader or whose government is defeated in a chamber of representative vote of number confident is required to recommend a new election for the lower house or to resign from office. Similar to a vote of no confidence, the defeat of a supply bill one that deals with the spending of money or the inability to pass significant policy-related legislation is seen as necessitating the resignation of the government or dissolution of parliament. Because a government that is unable to spend money is constrained, also known as losing supply. Passage of the government's legislation through the House of Representatives is primarily a formality because the Prime Minister party typically hold a majority in the chamber and party discipline is extremely strict in Malaysian politics. According to the Constitution, the Prime Minister will include advising the Yang di-Pertuan Agong on matters such as the appointment of the 44 out of 70 senators in the Dewan Negara, the summoning and adjournment of the Dewan Rakyat, and the appointment of judges of the Superior Court. 01. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong is required to act on the recommendation of the Cabinet or Minister acting under the general authority of the Cabinet in the majority of circumstances. Therefore, the Prime Minister and the Cabinet actually handle the majority of the daily job of government. Secondly, power of Prime Minister has the prerogative to nominate a members of the House of Representatives or a member of the Senate to serve on the former cabinet. He will present a list of names of the cabinet and deputy minister to the di-Pertuan Agong to obtain his consent to be appointed as a members of the government administration. It also had the role of advising the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to dissolve parliament, especially the Dewan Rakyat, to make way for general election. Calling or adjourning a sitting of parliament is also under the authority of the Prime Minister. The same goes for the declaration of emergency. Apart from that, he also has the role of advising the Yang di-Pertuan Agong in appointing 44 out of 70 senators
from among the members of the Senate. Not only that, but the appointment of higher court judge, High Court, Court of Appeal and Federal Court is also made on the advice of the Judicial Appointment Commission, where he will advise the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. The Attorney General of Malaysia and the Auditor General of Malaysia are also appointed on the advice of a Prime Minister. Then appointment of the Chairman and members of the Commission for the Judicial and Legislative Commission, the Election Commission, the Police Force Commission, the Education Service Commission, the National Finance Council and the Armed Force Council. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong is also appointed on the advice of a Prime Minister. That's all from me. Thank you.
In a nutshell, institution of the Prime Minister is the institution of the people as well. Appointing a right leader will determine a better ruling government, as they are the main tools who will govern the country, put forth and establish relevant action for the national advancement. This is crucial to be noted that every decision is actually depends on the people itself, as they are the one who will choose their own leader. Decisions should not be made only based on others' perceptions or rumors. Instead, scan and skim by yourself. Who do you think will lead rightfully, honestly, and who will bring the justice for the people if they are being underestimated or discriminated? That's all from our group. Thank you and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.